Feels kind of like we're in the meat of it now, right? This is episode 5.
Yeah.
This feels like we're in the thick of it.
Yeah. I'm sure that we basically understand what's going on by now.
Oh yeah, of course. No, it's just I feel like I've kind of crested that hump when you're starting a new series and it's a little bit awkward, and then you're in the middle of it and you're like, oh yeah, okay, here we go, we're back at it. Hit that stride. I'm gonna need you to take the image on your computer and just not have that there while we're recording, please. That's not. You're making it bigger, and now I need to explain to people what it is. My wife just wanted me to see an image of Freerin from hit light novel series Freerin, T-posing in a T-shirt with a $1.50 Kirkland hot dog on it.
Yes, that's correct.
It was very funny, but I cannot do the game about nuns in the 1400s with Freerin here.
Got it. So I need to find a picture of Darcy in a T-shirt advertising Kirkland's $1.50 hot dogs.
I would accept Darcy in a T-shirt advertising $1.50 Kirkland dogs.
All right, we've got our decor for next episode.
Good luck getting that commissioned. Angela eventually skulked away toward the superior's office. I went the other direction. I could hear voices up ahead. While I didn't feel particularly sociable, I welcomed the chance to speak to anyone who wasn't Angela. Moira and Eustace were chattering animatedly up ahead.
I like it here. It's like I'm a pillar. You ever just try to be a column? What do you think, Moira?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a real stand-up gal.
No, not all right. Moving on.
At first, I thought they might have been arguing. When they turned to me, however, they looked perfectly pleasant.
Hiya, Hedwig.
Oh, that was all we got of that scene? I thought we were gonna have the whole because I thought we were gonna get the whole conversation with that. That was one thing that the Volume 1 did that we haven't seen as much in this one, where occasionally we'd get the characters kind of more in the backgrounds, and we'd have some alt sprites while they were talking. That's cute.
I was just telling Moira about our little fish fry-up.
Oh, I so wish I could join. Unfortunately, I have so much to do this evening. And wouldn't you know it, I've already committed to spending the evening in the Misericorde.
A shame to miss out on fresh fish, but I do understand.
Perhaps next time.
Indeed. It's a good reminder I should go and offer the chance to the others before everyone commits to the Misericorde, huh? See you soon.
Eustace left.
Oh, by the way, Hedwig.
Eustace is still here, though.
No, I'm not. I left.
I can see you, though.
No, you can't. I left.
Could you remind me how one gets to your old cell?
Oh, of course, but why?
Oh, the superior wanted me to double check that it's locked. I took the stairs across the cloister, but I couldn't find the hallway.
It had not been long after I'd left my cell. I had been worried that a strange figure had been watching over me, and launched myself up the stairs. I've never navigated to my cell from that direction. I always take the long way around, I suppose.
Well, if that's easiest. This place isn't half a maze sometimes.
Indeed.
Sister Moira. Sister Hedwig.
This is my one canonical Hedwig trait. Whenever someone mentions her name, her first reaction has to be, ah!
Angela was done chatting with the superior then.
Oh, I did a quick save. I've never done that before. It was an accident, though.
She marched right past us. Our eyes met briefly. She said nothing, but I felt judged all the same.
Goodness, somebody's in a mood.
We turned to follow her toward the stairs up toward the dorms. Voices echoed down the stairwell. The rest of the sisters were milling about at the top of the stairs between the Misericorde and the library doors, talking animatedly. When I arrived, Catherine with a K had just finished pulling Flora's wheelbarrow backward over the top step onto the landing.
So that's how they're doing it. I guess the stairs are wide enough that they can...
Evidently, getting the poor girl upstairs had proven to be a bit of a challenge.
Took you long enough. You're welcome, Flora.
Angela brushed past everyone and disappeared into the dormitories. Right then. Who are we having in the Misericorde tonight? As we all know, I am the Misericorde bouncer. Catherine with a K practically jumped forward.
Yes, please. I need it too. What a day. Me too.
I don't think so, Flora. You need to rest. Flora made a sour face but said nothing.
I'll join if you're going to be there, Charity.
Of course. So that's me, Catherine with a K, Margaret, Marta. Who else? Adela?
I think not.
Does she have plans with Moira or something?
Moira?
Yes, please.
Oh, wait. No, wait. I forgot Moira said she had plans to go to the Misericorde, not... Okay. Wait, what did she mean that she'd already committed to going, but Charity seemed unaware of it?
Oh?
Eh.
I already said I would. I'll be there as soon as I can. Got lots to do.
Room for one more. A night in the Misericorde might be restorative, provided Eustace wasn't planning to scare me again. Plus, I hadn't had much of a chance to speak to Charity lately. I felt somewhat guilty volunteering for potential bacchanalia after I had just affirmed my intent to find Catherine with the C's killer. Perhaps I was just making excuses for myself. I would like to think that I was making the decision for the right reasons. At any rate, it did not matter. Wait, what about fish fry?
Yeah.
We have plans, Hedwig.
I could hear her snickering. Oh?
Yes. Went fishing earlier. We're gonna have an outdoor fry-up.
Crumbs! I am a bit jealous.
You just ate?
Oh, wait a bit. Obviously.
Well, everyone else has spoken for it. Suppose Flora could join in. As long as she promises to behave now.
Really? I promise.
The group split apart, the Misericorde goers huddling together outside the door, presumably to plan out whatever activities and treats they would indulge in. Or, I thought to myself as I wandered toward the dormitory, they could be discussing how relieved they were that I would not be attending. I know this thing. This thing where, like, you assume everyone behind your back must be grousing about how much they don't care about, how much they don't like you, right? And it's like, no. Unless you go out of your way to be a dick to people, when you're not around them, they aren't thinking about you because they're thinking about the people they're with, right? Unless you go out of your way to leave such a negative impact upon everyone that you force them to acknowledge you when you're not around and complain about you, then they're not gonna. It's just fine. There would, after all, be no chance that I would attack any of them. I grimaced as I entered my room. I was feeling altogether exhausted. Fighting back tears of frustration, I set about hiding the dull knife I had found in the walls of my pillowcase. I was joining the triangular strip of fabric I had found snagged on a tree some time ago. And then there was the soiled copy of Matthew hiding under my bed. I sighed. I was gathering quite a collection of clues I was too stupid to make sense of. I was at the very least relieved that I would not have to explain a missing key to the superior. Angela had still run me ragged for the day with her little test. Angela and the superior were demanding action from me, and Eustace was demanding stillness. I agreed with the ones who wanted me to press forward, truth be told. I had made up my mind to push onward, to find the guilty party and clean up this whole mess and save this wicked place. But the ones who were supposedly my allies in this endeavor were strict, harsh, cruel, even. Meanwhile, Eustace, who was petitioning me for me to let all of this go, was going to cook for me. She had corralled me into it, to be sure. Her invitation had really been more of a polite demand. She wanted to observe me. I was not stupid. At least, not that stupid. What ate at me was how much I preferred her approach. As sure as I was that I would ultimately have to betray her wishes, I was still looking forward to her company far more than I was to report to the superior or Angela about the investigation. It made me feel a little foolish. Worse, it made me feel craven. Was I really such a simple creature? I punched my pillow in frustration and broke down into the quietest sobs I could. I think I need to take a short rest. I apologize. I realize that I'm lingering on details that might feel unimportant.
She's taking a short rest, so she's getting some hit dice back.
Yep.
And
I don't think you recover spell slots on short rest, though.
that's true, unless she's a warlock.
Unless she's... Right.
Meandering, adrift in the minutiae. This is all rather difficult for me. I thought I was ready, but walking through all of this with you is making me feel ill at ease. I want to share my full story with you. I truly do. But some of it is too much to bear without assistance. You see, I am beginning to realize that I might have to share some rather strange, embarrassing, awful details with you quite soon. Perhaps I've been navigating in circles to avoid getting to them. I've put the foundations down for you, at the very least. But before I continue, would you fetch me some wine? Thank you. I appreciate this very much. I am.
It's interesting that this is now in the Hedwig speaking in the narrative device framing and not Hedwig narrating framing.
I really am not one for excess drinking, as you will soon understand. But the manner of story I will be telling you will require a little extra courage. By the time I'm good and tipsy, I'm sure you will understand.
Oh, good. So our narrator is now going to get drunk. I'm so happy for that. That's such a great idea to let our narrator be drunk in our mystery game.
I remember waking up to a knock at the door, although I do not remember falling asleep. I jerked up with a start, perhaps even a yelp, and nearly tripped as I stood out of bed.
Actually, you know what? I should be drinking to... Hold on. It's not a wine. I don't have a canned wine, but it is a yuzu ginger cider.
I
Quite
see.
like this one. It's got a nice little bite to it.
I had contorted myself into an uncomfortable position whilst dreaming. My robe had been hiked up between my legs awkwardly during my brief nap, and my arm had gotten caught in the folds of the fabric.
Hetty. You can just say you were grinding one out. It's fine. Did she be like, wait, people do this, and then needed to go figure out what it was about?
Oh, dang, this is fun.
The more we get into this, the less and less I trust narrator Hedwig to actually tell us what Hedwig was doing.
Slow fade in.
As I stumbled to my feet, I almost lifted my entire robe over my head. I was left flat, awkwardly flattening my clothes when Eustace poked her head through my door. I didn't say you could come in. She spoke to me through the door, slightly muffled.
Sorry. I was worried you'd fallen asleep. Evidently not.
You guessed true, but still.
Easy. I'm just excited. Are you ready for a treat?
I do believe that Eustace is actually legitimately excited for this because frying up a fish you caught, it's a different kind of meal than you normally get, right? And it's at a different time, so it has a little bit of that change in nature to it. But B, it's also something that she caught herself, so there's the reward of like, I did this, and now I get to fry it up and eat it, and that's its own little rewarding thing. I believe she's excited.
I need to Photoshop Eustace to have the Fish fear me, women fear me, I walk alone, unforgiven on this barren earth hat.
Yeah. Oh, poor Eustace. But yeah, that is her hat.
Well, I did leave a little room for Fish.
Good. Come on, then. Could still catch the sunset if we leave now.
Is this a dinner date, Eustace? Or is it just you're legitimately like, this is actually a very fun experience, and if I'm gonna, even though I'm, minding you for the night, I don't, that doesn't preclude me having a good time?
I suppose we'll find out.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thrown to you while I took a sip of mine.
I opened the door and she gestured for me to follow her, and then darted into her own doorway. She emerged a moment later carrying a traveler's bindle that looked rather heavy. Iron rods poked out of the fabric, and I could faintly smell cold fish as she brushed past me.
This doesn't look like the cloister.
She led me down the stairs and around the cloister to the western side of the abbey.
I understand now.
I realized that we weren't too far from the spot where Darcy had watched me fall while walking around the side of the abbey walls. Daylight was rapidly fading, and I hoped that I wasn't about to trip and make the same embarrassing mistake in front of Eustace. Luckily, we stuck to flatter ground. It was a very pleasant evening, if a touch chilly. Our robes were hardly thin, but I would be grateful for the warmth of a fire. Eustace stopped and began to brush aside tall grass with her feet. I realized that she had brought us to a circle of rocks and ash, somewhat obscured by overgrowth. Satisfied that she had cleared the campfire of grass, she set down her bindle and unraveled it.
Oh wait, so is this like just a fire pit, like just off the grounds?
Perhaps.
Circle of rocks and yeah, this looks like an established fire. Okay, so that's interesting because that's a reason for people to be out at the west grounds on occasion, right? And it's cool that there's an actual fire pit, so it's a thing that has been used before.
We laid out the fabric to use as a blanket, and Eustace set to work sticking the iron rods into the ground. What is that?
Spit. It's how we'll cook the fish. But first...
She produced another one of the tools she had brought. One that I recognized instantaneously.
You know how to start a fire?
Of course I do. I never would have survived winters in my cell without a hearth. She nodded and handed the flint and starter to me. Suddenly eager to impress, I struck the two together above the wood Eustace had been laying into the fire pit before her hands were even away.
Careful.
She yanked her fingers away as the spark lit the firewood. Oh, sorry. She sucked on her fingers, then wiggled her wet hand in the air a bit with slight grimace.
Don't worry about it.
Can you light a fire with a flint?
I cannot. Can you?
No.
Okay. Well, great.
I tried a lot. I'm not good at it.
Okay. It's because the idea is you're creating a spark, right? Is it a matter of the angle or the intensity or like what you can't just bash the two things together, right? There's a technique to it, but what is it?
There must be. I guess it's whatever I didn't do.
Understandable.
Don't worry about it.
Eustace is really giving me the vibe right now of someone who knows she's prickly and a bit of an ass and is trying so hard to not be that person right now.
I think you just got me with a spark is all. Oh, that's a nice effect. Looks really pretty, doesn't it?
How come you have a shadow on the background? The fire crackled to life. I immediately felt a wash of comfort. Eustace set to much uglier work, putting one of the fish she had caught on the spit, which involved jamming one of the rods into its mouth and the other out the other end violently.
Hey!
All right, hold on. How do we... There he goes.
You know I'm serious when the glasses get foggy.
Can we got Eustace doing like the glasses push up like the. Oh, that's
Eustace
cute.
Gendo posing.
Eustace Gendo posing.
I had secretly hoped we would be cooking the kind of fish I was used to eating. A flat fillet free of skin, bone, and eyes. Well, the eyes had been removed, I think. The dead fish was far too expressive either way. It would take some bravery on my part to eat anything once it was cooked. It would have to set my face like the flint I held, as it were. Eustace finished the grisly work and set the fish atop the spit.
Huh, there we are. Pinched a little salt from the pantry as well. This will be very tasty. So, what you been up to today?
She spoke with a shrill, insincere chirp. I've been making her voice lower because it mentions that it mentioned in the last in volume 1 that her voice was lower than others. So
Instead of doing kind of this voice, I brought it down to kind of here and gave her a graspy.
but now she's shrill and insincere. God damn it.
So, what have you been up to today?
No. No.
I'm sorry, what?
Forbidden. That's not what Eustace sounds like.
all right, I've been told that's not what Eustace
I
sounds
don't
like.
believe it.
So, well, what have you been up to today?
They're like kind of like lightly bored. Just remember, I could do it whenever I want.
Oh, well, not much to tell you the truth. I've never really had a holiday. Not one where I had a choice of where to go and what to do at any rate. I mostly just flitted about.
I see.
Spent some time with Margaret and Catherine with a K. Did a little bit of writing in my room. Walked the Abbey grounds a bit. Going fishing with you was the highlight, I think.
Huh. Well, thank you. It's nice to know that I can be decent company.
She turned the fish idly.
Do you like it here?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer.
Oh, there goes the quick menu.
True enough. You've experienced a full range now, really. There are days where we do a little work, and then we do as we please. And there are days where we, just do as we please. I realize your view of the whole thing might be a little bit marred by the unpleasantness. But I promise that is rare. Rarer than rare, in fact. The truth is that, without Catherine with a C around, each day here is exactly the same.
That's a rather large thing to be without.
It is. But it was true before she went mad,
What?
and it'll be true when all of this dies down.
Before she went mad.
What does that mean? Eustace? What does that mean, Eustace?
So here's the thing. I can only hope Hedwig is about to comment on that. And I don't think Eustace would offer that without... well, let's see.
You've never said it quite like that before. You told me she could not leave well enough alone, or some such. But mad?
It's hard to describe it in any other way. Harsh, certainly, but it's perhaps the most succinct explanation. One day she was Catherine with a C, and the next day might be somebody else, obsessed with something dark and terrible. And then eventually the Catherine with a C that I knew, that we all knew, was gone entirely.
Interesting. What dark
So
and terrible
that-
thing was she obsessed with?
I don't know. And also, I am not sure that their judgment of what is dark, that Eustace's judgment of what's dark and terrible might not measure with what ours is. Like, what would Eustace think to be dark and terrible? This is interesting because it makes it sound less and less like she was flitting between interests and more like something kind of grabbed at her and drew her in a way that she wouldn't normally have been. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It seemed more like, from other people described it, she kind of like almost pinball around
the Abbey. Spending time here, spending time there, but always kind of like never in the same place. But the way the Eustace describes it is more like she kind of went somewhere and then didn't come back from it. So I wonder what the shape of that looks like. Like, what is it that was it writing more letters to the King of France?
And now, here we are.
Well, she seems to at least think that that's what got her killed.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, days like those, they're just one bump in a long road. That's difficult for you to imagine, having only been around for the bumps. But this is just a bump. Evenings like this, that's why this place is special. I know some of the others complain, but I wouldn't have it any other way. A quiet, pleasant life.
Is that your angle? You're worried that stewing in this more will just cause it to stick around instead of like hoping that if you just don't make waves, it'll eventually blow over and whatever caused it will just fade back into the background? Is that?
Is it hoping?
Certainly seems like hoping.
Kind of seemed from previous things that she knows maybe what Catherine was involved with, and is less hoping and more like knowing.
All right.
I don't know. I may be overestimating her knowledge. But.
Yeah, because like I can believe that she knew what Catherine was up to, but it does feel a little bit like there's some desperation in her right now.
Perhaps.
It feels less like she knows that if Hedwig settles down, it will go away, and more like Hedwig settles down, and if it doesn't go away, then I don't know what I'm gonna fucking do.
A countryside holiday I could take until the world ended.
What if all this evil remains? I feel like what you're saying is too easy for you. You haven't seen ghosts. You haven't been threatened.
Well, for one, I don't believe in ghosts. I am quite comfortable in that. As should you be, I might add. But if there is something going on, I have no part of it, and I refuse to give it air. Let any would-be schemers scheme. It doesn't involve me, and if I don't tend their fire, it'll die out.
Okay, yeah, it is that, right? Like, just if as long as we don't engage with it, it'll die out on its own. And engaging with it can only give it more longevity.
She stoked the real fire somewhat pointedly. And if it doesn't? She peered at me through her big spectacles. The flames reflected in the glass, and it was difficult to read her expression.
Then I will have to leave. It won't come to that, I should hope.
Leave? Where would you go?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leap into heavier conversation tonight.
That is an interesting detail. Eustace believes she could get up and leave if she needed to.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's definitely not true, nor the assumed position of any of the nuns here, right?
Yep.
Like, talking to Flora, the whole conversation was like, how would you make a living? How would you get your money? Eustace, when she says she would leave, she seems canny enough where I think that would mean she has thought it through and has a plan.
I think this one is almost done.
She took the fish off the spit and examined it.
Ahoy!
I whipped my head around in surprise. Adela was striding over to us with Darcy in tow. Eustace looked taken aback.
We saw the fire and thought we would join you.
Of course. Feel free.
Tiny little Eustace smile.
There was that chirpy voice again. I was somewhat relieved to see that Adela and Darcy had brought extra provisions. Wine and salted meats and dried fruits and handfuls of nuts. Food without eyes. They sat down with us on the large blanket. Darcy perched next to Eustace with a warm expression on her face. Adela shot me a knowing smile, but I was not exactly sure why.
The two of them are kind of getting over their rut, I guess.
Wine was poured and idle chatter was made. Eustace's polite inquisition was put to the side for more frivolous, less ulterior gossip.
The sherry. I hope one day Marta has to drink her finished slop. Years of work wasted because she would not listen to my advice. It is what she deserves.
Huh.
Aye.
Well, let's not let people who aren't here ruin our night, huh?
True. Oh, it does not ruin my night to complain. I love to complain. Hedwig, this is something you will learn about me.
I suppose I just did.
Adela does feel like someone who speaks her mind, but also doesn't, like, get trapped thinking on things, if that makes sense.
If there's three things Adela likes: complaining, getting into competitions, but most importantly of all, winning competitions.
And complaining when she doesn't win competitions.
She took a big swig from her cup of wine and giggled, splashing some red juices onto her wimple.
This is nice. Good time for it. Won't be long until the snow.
Yeah, that's what made me think about doing it. They'll be coming any day now.
Adela groaned and flopped onto her back dramatically.
Fucking snow. I miss Zahara.
Don't we all?
Zahara?
Is that going to be a person?
Don't we all? Hold on, let me, Zahara de la Sierra is a municipality in Andalusia.
Oh.
And Zahara de
maybe
los
it
Atunes
is.
is a village also in Andalusia.
Maybe it is, because she is Andalusian, right?
Right, she is from Andalusia, so
Okay.
she might be talking about,
Where she grew up.
yeah.
Don't we all?
Where is Sahara?
Okay, yep.
Iberia.
I was wrong. Not a person at all. A place.
Adela shot back up, clearly offended.
Spain.
Oh, I'm not trying to get political.
Hedwig, Zahara is the most beautiful city in the world. The hills, they are so much prettier than our hills. The food is tastier than any food you could have here. And the weather. Zahara is so warm year-round you could live comfortably without clothes for the rest of your days. The streets are clean and the buildings are so bright you can see at night.
I had no idea what to say.
Adela feels very strongly about Castile's claims in Andalusia.
So this is going to be still back in the era before... Is this before the Christian kingdoms fully retake Iberia? When did the Reconquista complete? What year does this happen again?
1480 something?
Okay,
Three?
so yes, this does then happen before the completion of the Reconquista.
What is the Reconquista?
So, do you know about the Muslim conquest of Iberia?
I don't know about the Muslim conquest of Iberia.
The Umayyad dynasty
Yep.
came up from North Africa across the Straits of Gibraltar and proceeded to conquer most of the Iberian Peninsula in the early 700s.
Okay.
And it was ruled as the territory of Al-Andalus, thus where the name Andalusia would come from
yeah,
eventually,
okay.
for hundreds of years. But Catholic kings kind of slowly advanced over the course of quite some time. And at the time it was split between different dynasties. It wasn't a single united Spain or anything like that. But it wasn't until 1482 that the final war started, in which Isabella of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon fought against the Emirate of Granada, which controlled this little chunk in the southern part of Spain.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
Right next to
modern-day Andalusia.
Okay.
So, and in the 1490s, the Catholic monarchs won, and that was that. And yeah, so this is happening like that war would have just started 1 year ago.
Yep.
It would be like actively in progress, but definitely still a decade
Current
or so
events,
away from being over. So it would be a controversial political topic right now. Does Castile have claims on Granada or no, and so on, and what should they do about it? So anyway, I only was cued in about that because that's one of the first events that happens in the timeline of Europa Universalis 4. If
Thanks,
you play
Paradox
anywhere
Interactive.
in the vicinity of the Iberian Peninsula.
Well, hey. Hey, I mean, it means you were on the jump on this one. You were way at, so good on you.
Anyway, please dunk on me for all of the things I got wrong between my half-remembered knowledge and the Wikipedia summary I pulled up partway through.
Yeah. That was just a Wikipedia brief. So, learn more on your own, but hopefully that's enough context for us to enjoy this here.
No, she is wrong, Hedwig. I only care about being able to live somewhere nice. We do live somewhere nice.
It ain't so bad.
The view is nice sometimes.
Darcy said this looking straight at Eustace, who cleared her throat with a sheepish smile. Second hit, Hedwig just watching the flirting over there.
That is true.
Adela said this looking straight at me, and I cleared my throat with a sheepish smile. Does Adela think Hedwig is gay and trying to flirt with her? We theorize they have a betting pool going on, right? Is this a double date? Is that what this is? I tried to say thank you, but instead made a sort of clucking sound with my dry throat. I glanced over at Darcy and Eustace and was surprised, but not shocked. No, not anymore, to see their mouths locked in a passionate kiss. Adela put her hand on my knee and smiled wryly. I smiled back, unsure of what to say. Ah, goodness, it's getting late, is it not? The others all looked at me surprised, and Adela looked wounded.
Oh no. Hedwig accidentally on a double date.
Hedwig, no!
It is barely past sundown. Was it something I said, Sister Hedwig?
I hope you all don't mind if I turn in early for the night. We had a long and exciting day after all. Ah! With that, I stood up and toddled away. My body wouldn't walk straight forward.
Hedwig, Sister Hedwig.
I turned around to smile and wave. Truly, I did not feel angry with Adela. Aquinas had warned me about the homosexual male, but the female was a different beast altogether. We had no seed to spill. I crested the stairs in a mighty huff. Still, though, surely touching each other for pleasure was sinful nonetheless. Were the women in the Misericorde right now acting just as debauched? If I open that door, would I see naked bodies entangled in shameful You know what goes on in there. People drink and eat and play chess. Settle the fuck down, Hedwig. No wonder this building was crumbling. No wonder devils and ghosts lurked in dark corners. No wonder the superior had called these women sodomites. I felt dizzy and staggered to the stone railing to right myself for a moment. I hadn't even gotten to try the fish. Had my naivete denied me heaven? Was half a second of a woman's hand brushing against my knee enough to send me to hell? Let's find out.
How you feeling? How you feeling?
Not especially damned yet.
Okay, well, we'll work on that.
I sobbed quietly for a while. This wine you brought me is serving me quite well. Goodness, I'm amazed I got through all that without mispronouncing something.
Sorry, let me take another stab at that one, because that...
Goodness, I'm amazed I got through all that without mispronouncing something. Mispronouncing. That's a funny word if you think about it, isn't it? No, I'm happy to keep talking about it. This is why I'm back in my cell, after all.
Spoiler alert, every word is a funny word if you think about it enough.
Well, mostly. But I'll happily talk about it with the right amount of lubrication.
Hey.
I might need more to drink eventually, but... No. I am comfortable. I'm in my cell. This is where I belong. So I can't do any of all that anymore. You see, I'm just getting started. I mean, if you know me and you're someone I know, then I'm sure you knew about some of this, but I promise there is so much more that I did. Because you know why I'm here. You know that wasn't the end of any of that. And you know very well that I'm back in here for my own good. Because the worst part of all this is yet to come, and do you know how I know I'm where I belong? Because when I was crying then, I think I might have embellished in my written notes, because when I was crying then, I think between you and me, I was crying because I wanted more. And from then on, my dark desires became incredibly distracting.
Dark Desires, like that one video game. What's the name of that game?
I don't know this one.
No, we played it. It's part of the subtitle. It's the only video
Your
game.
Dark Desires Made Flesh or something?
It's the only video game.
Only video game, right?
Yeah,
right,
which
right.
game is that?
Crypt Worlds.
Crypt Worlds.
What about it?
Yeah, I was trying to reference Crypt Worlds.
Golden Edition out now.
Crypt Worlds, your darkest desires come true. But unfortunately, it took me so long to do it that it's not actually funny. Whoops.
You could just go watch Crypt Worlds and play it for yourself right now.
Yeah, good
You
game.
should do that. Go get the Gold Edition. What's the little mouse fucker's name?
Is it Dendigar?
Dendigar! All my homies love Dendigar.
Anyway, go play Crypt Worlds.
Oh, what a useless sod I was. One small trick from the devil was all it took to send me spiraling. At the time, I really did try. I was so convinced I was not tempted by avarice, but looking back, I was. As I wept on the landing, I told myself that I would get to work in earnest the next day, and indeed I did, as I will detail for you. But it wasn't enough. I know what you are thinking. Where is all of this going, Hedwig? Why are you dwelling on all of this, Hedwig? Closing myself off in my cell isn't enough. I need to enumerate an account for all of my sins. Because sin I did. Over and over, unwillingly and willingly. I was being torn in half slowly by different people, different goals, different thoughts inside my own head, and it made me stupid. Far too stupid to solve any mystery. Now here I am.
Has present-day Hedwig not managed to figure out what happened? And is hoping to just tell the story in case someone else might be able to?
Oh.
People are dead because of me.
That is a bold-ass statement to make.
I think now might be a good place for us to rest. I ought to get some sleep. I am tired and the worst is yet to come. If you would be so kind, would you bring me more wine tomorrow? There are more difficult subjects yet to come, and my throat is rather dry. Thank you. Tomorrow, then, I'll be here. I'll be here.
What?
All right.
England, 19 motorway. No way! What? This is just happening?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, let's see what's happening with Alex.
Yeah.
What was it?
Did I narrate this segment?
I don't remember how, but let's say you do.
Okay. The flight was uneventful. Turbulence, my butt. The only thing of note was how goddamn boring it was. I can't believe people do that shit all the time. I'd kill myself. I tried falling asleep even, but it just wasn't happening. The engines were too loud. The recycled air gave me a headache. That rich lady who sat next to me got absorbed in a book after we took off, too, so I had nobody to talk to. Not that I wanted to spend much more time talking to her.
I hope she doesn't show up because I hadn't prepared by rewatching the old episodes to figure out what her voice was. Shit.
I had gotten a real strange feeling from her whole deal. When we landed, she thanked me again for finding her bag and reminded me not to spend all that cash she had given me in one place. Then she got up and left with the first-class passengers. Not sure why they let her. I guess she did have a first-class look. Anyway, I was running on fumes by the time I picked up my luggage and made my way to the outside of the terminal. I'd heard a lot of bad shit about Heathrow while planning my trip, but honestly, it didn't feel much different from JFK.
Was Heathrow in the middle of the river yet?
What?
Didn't they build Heathrow in the middle of a river? In the middle of the Thames?
I don't know
To make more
anything
space?
about this airport.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. Someone can look me up and correct me on that, but I thought Heathrow, London, they built part of it in the middle of the river because they were running out of space.
I'm now imagining that it's just floating in the middle of the Thames.
Yeah,
just
there
right
you
in
go.
the center. Maybe I was too tired to notice, but it just looked like any other big airport.
This riff, hold on. There's one part of this riff that sounded like Teen Spirit.
Gray, miserable, full of people ready to fall apart at any second.
That does sound like airports.
I stood on the sidewalk, pavement, and tried to hail a cab or bus or whatever I could find.
Hello?
Hi, can you take me to Linbarrow?
Linbarrow. You having a laugh?
No?
Wait, right, they're English. I need to...
In the back of my head, I'd been worried about this. Linbarrow Abbey, the whole mountain really, had a reputation for being haunted.
Oh, this is fascinating. So whatever happens there leaves enough of an impression that it's... Well, no, Darcy already says it's haunted currently, but it's not... I guess we're not sure if the reason it's haunted in the present day is because of that same haunting, or if it gets a reputation after whatever Hedwig is telling us about.
This is great. So this game is bleep, and Alex is our bleep.
You can just say it, and I will actually bleep them. It's funny. I'm just going to leave you saying bleep in rather than putting in the censor effect because you didn't say anything.
I'm just stoked that I'm like, oh, okay. I've had this plot device before. It was great. I'm game.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that I'm pretty sure the author also knows exactly what you're thinking about right now, and I don't think the author is going to let that particular focal point you're latching onto go without being turned upside down or somehow. I don't think that's just going to get played straight.
Fair enough.
And we got to read your line now.
I guess some superstitious folks wouldn't want to take me there.
That's almost in bloody Scotland.
Yeah? England's like small though, isn't it?
Not that small, sweetheart. I got a wife and kids to go home to.
All right then. Thanks. He tipped his hat to me and pulled ahead to the next customer.
Need a ride?
I jumped. This chick again. I had last seen her at the fast food joint before my flight, and now she was bugging me on the sidewalk?
Here we go. She's got the same haircut as the little interloper, which is why I think they might be one.
Interloper what?
Interloper nun.
I
Whoops.
see. I got your brain onto the wrong track.
God damn it.
Now we're only thinking about bleep.
Son of a bitch. I'm leaving the bleeps in.
Wait, did I read the last one? I think I did. Okay.
Okay.
Or pavement. Whatever. Yeah, I do. Fuck, you scared the shit out of me.
Saws.
She put 2 fingers between her candy-colored lips and let out a whistle so piercing I had to cover my ears.
I can't whistle like that, so...
Not bad. A powder blue car emerged from around the corner. It looked a bit beaten up, and the diesel smell became overpowering as it approached the curb. An older guy in a tweed jacket was behind the wheel.
Evening, ladies.
My friend here needs a ride to Linbarrow. Would you be so kind?
Of course.
How'd you know I was going to Linbarrow?
I heard you, silly.
How'd you know I was going to Linbarrow?
Well, you just have that look about you.
Is this just... She just summons a random guy who happens to be headed to the same place?
Yep,
just
there you
by
go.
whistling? What is going on here? The man chuckled and wagged his finger at my strange benefactor.
Fair's fair.
Look, I don't want to sound rude, but I don't want to get murdered.
You can trust him, isn't that right, Jim?
That's right. Happily married man, love. Wife killed me if she caught so much as a whiff of funny business.
I mean, sure. Okay. It was all a bit difficult to believe, but I looked between my mysterious friend and the man in the car and felt oddly calm. I had this weird feeling of, like, it all making sense, if that makes sense. Jim turned to the other woman.
Need a ride as well?
Oh, who, me? Oh, no, I have a meeting in London.
Alright then. What's your name, miss?
I waited for a second because I thought he was talking to her, but then I realized she had already slipped away. Alex.
Just Alex.
Yeah.
Do you need help with your luggage, just Alex?
I noticed him glancing down at my leg as I walked toward the car. Nah, thanks. I fiddled with the trunk, boot, and opened it wide.
I like the idea that you land in England and all of a sudden even your internal narration has to switch over.
At the same time, though, like, have you spent, like, a week or two in other regions of the U.S. that have common dialect words and so on, and, like, found yourself picking them up?
Yes, well, not in the U.S., but when I was living in Quebec, yeah.
Oh, see? Yeah.
Yeah.
It hits you faster than you think.
There was... Oh, right, you're narrating.
There was just enough room between some covered wooden boxes and dirty farming implements to slot my case. I slammed the boot shut and walked to the front seat.
Hope you know it'll be a bit of a drive.
That's okay.
Yep.
How long is it to drive just tip to tail the
That's
UK?
the thing is that England is so fucking small. I don't... You're going to give me a number, and then the English are going to be like, oh, it's so long, and I'm going to be like, that... Yeah,
They're going to be like, yeah, we've...
Yeah, no, I've done that drive
that
before.
amount recently or something.
I'm going to guess 6 hours.
If you go from Edinburgh to London,
Yep.
that's a 7-hour, 30-minute trip by
Okay,
car.
yeah, okay. And they're not going all the way to Scotland anyway, just short out, so... Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's a decent drive. I have made that drive before. And that...
It's apparently... Damn. It's allegedly... fucking, like, sub 5 hours by train.
Oh, shit.
And, like, it's 7 hours to the last place I had to take a train to a big city here in the States.
Dang.
I wish I could get across the country in less than 5 hours.
Jesus Christ, right? Well, there you go. Anyway, glad we solved the only problem going on in England right now.
Stuff's too far apart.
Let me guess, you like one of them Hatsune Miku's? Wait, no, this is 1983. Let me guess, you like them there, Joy Division.
The leather seats were discolored and fraying, and there was dirt tracked all through the car, but compared to the airline, it was practically a spa.
You wanted me to play some of that Swans?
Wait, when did Swan's first album come out?
I think Swan's first albums were in the early 80s, but that was
Okay.
like when they were like Cop and stuff like that.
Okay.
So this was like their harder industrial.
Was Filth their first album?
Let's see. Yeah, Swan started in 81,
Oh, nice.
and Filth was their first studio album in 83.
Love that album.
So they had some EPs before that. So
I like that album because whenever I listen to it, it sounds like the audio equivalent of some guy just making direct eye contact with me while bashing all the bones in my face in with a baseball bat.
yeah, I can understand that. I am a big fan of Children of God.
That one is also very good.
I know that one's kind of like the popular one to like, but
It's good.
It really, that was the one that really connected with me first and got me to listen to more Swans.
Now, the real hard mode is I fucking love The Burning World, and that's the one everybody hates.
I enjoyed Burning World. It felt like a different category of album
It absolutely
than everything
is.
else that has the Swan's name on it. I can see why someone who was into earlier Swan stuff and then listened to that would be disappointed, because it doesn't even sound like an evolution or grow out of the other sound. It just sounds like they did something entirely different, which is fine. It's good. I enjoy it, but I can see why someone might have not been into it.
Fair enough.
Anyway, go for it.
I already read this. The car began to shudder, and we pulled away from the curb. I was so tired. I felt bad because this guy was being really nice driving me all the way to Linbarrow, but he was so focused on getting out of Heathrow that I didn't see a good gap to say anything. And then
what?
I woke up slowly to the calming sounds of rubber on road. Oh God, how long was I asleep?
Few hours. Couple more to go, I'm afraid.
No problem. Thanks for doing this, by the way. How'd you know her?
Oh, who, your friend there? Don't know at all.
Wait, really? But she flagged you down.
Just luck, I suppose. I was driving to the airport for some reason or another and heard her whistle, and now, here I am.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Driving to the airport for some reason or another. Is our little interloper here someone who just kind of, the world works for her? It anticipates what she...
Huh. Well, thanks.
Not at all. Where you from?
Ugh, the States.
No offense, miss, I'd figured that out. Whereabouts in the States?
And why?
City?
Yeah?
That's nice. Always wanted to visit the East Coast. Got a few friends there, a few in Boston. Not sure I'll ever get on a plane, though.
New York's cool. I mean, it sucks, but it's cool.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Well, the city is mad dirty, and the drivers are all assholes, but the people are cool.
Except the drivers.
Right, yeah. Sorry, I'm still a bit tired.
No need to apologize, miss. You a punk. Ever go to the, what's it, heebie-jeebies?
CBGB?
That's the one.
God, no, that place stopped being cool ages ago.
Shows what I know.
I think anywhere you might have heard of, I'd avoid. Not like because of you, just, you know, if it's broken containment. He laughed and shook his head.
Broken containment. Blow me down. My son was a bit of a punk for a while. I picked a few things up.
Yeah, that's cool.
Apparently not.
I felt bad, but he was still laughing. I guess he could take a joke.
Remind me of him a bit. My wife hated that stuff, but I tried some of it out, you know. Wanted to connect with him.
That's sweet.
See, I thought so too. Took me a while to winnow down, thought. Bought him a Sex Pistols record and tossed it right in the bin.
They kind of suck.
Told you sound like him. Took me a while to find something he liked.
It's hard to find real punk.
I'll be honest, it all sounded the same to me, but I'd know the difference if I was closer to it, I suppose.
Yeah,
Plus, the English stuff is a bit different from the American punk, innit?
definitely. Hardcore is basically totally different from UK stuff. He chuckled to himself.
Just like him. Blow me down, I say again. What brings you here, then, if not our thriving punk rock community?
I'll be honest, I still wasn't totally sure I could trust this guy. He was pretty charming and doing me a massive favor, but it was beginning to hit me just how weird this situation was. Then again, we had a long way to go, and I didn't really feel like making the rest of the ride awkward. I wanted to visit the Abbey.
Linbarrow.
Yeah?
You a history buff or one of them superstitious types?
Dunno, both maybe? Plus I'm kinda doing some family tree research type stuff.
Going quite a way back then. You reckon you got royalty in there some...
Maybe. I mean, statistically all of us do. Wouldn't really care if I did, because it's a statistical certainty.
Everyone does, more or less.
There we go.
Doesn't
There
mean
we
much.
go. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim, for bringing up the subject I had a bee in my bonnet over like 2 weeks ago, that it doesn't matter and anyone, if they are sufficiently resourceful in tracing one's tree, will find
Yeah.
something or other, and it just doesn't actually matter in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't mean anything.
I'll drink to that. Don't matter much to me what the queer old dean does.
I couldn't help but laugh.
You know, like a dear old queen.
I got it.
Don't go telling anyone I said that, course.
If I visit London on the way back, I'll be sure not to tell any of the fuzzy hat guys.
I take you all know all about that royal business at the Abbey then.
Royal business at the Abbey. Okay, so we were right to be like, yeah, it's definitely that is
Yep,
what's at stake here.
yep.
A bit. It's kind of why I wanted to come.
Ah, you're one of those types, superstitious. Conspiratorial.
Maybe a little.
It's an odd place, I'll grant you that. Odd history.
Yeah,
You one of them historians at all?
not really. I'm curious, but not an expert. I really want to see it for myself, though.
You staying in the village?
I assume so. I hadn't thought that far ahead.
There's a couple of pubs and inns. Of course, you could stay with me and the missus if you like, save a few quid.
Yeah? I'd appreciate that. I was used to couch surfing. Plus, even with the money that lady had given me for finding my bag, I wasn't exactly loaded. Finding her bag.
Yeah,
I wasn't
okay, finding her
exactly
bag. Yeah,
loaded.
okay.
Your wife won't mind?
Nah. Might give you some lip about it, but it ain't be no trouble. She thinks I'm soft.
Yeah? I guess you seem pretty nice.
Well, thank you, young lady. Catch more flies with honey, that's always been my motto.
You get a lot of visitors then?
Well, we see enough. It ain't a busy town, but it attracts a lot of travelers and tourist types. Lots of people going to Edinburgh, Newcastle, so on. Did I say Edinburgh right?
I think so.
Cool. Or, the Isle of Man. Nah. Bit of a midpoint for a lot of things. All that plus the occasional curious type like yourself. The Abbey attracts some weird folk. Present company excluded, of course.
I've been struck by a sudden urge to write Yowie set on the Isle of Man and purposefully missing any of what the Isle of Man is and assuming it's an Isle of Man.
So just taking the name Isle of Man?
But like guessing at what a kind of British place called Isle of Man would be based on
I think you mean
the
Isle of
name.
Men.
I guess it is pretty weird to fly all the way to another country to see a haunted abbey.
Haunted! Goodness me.
Maybe.
I ain't know about haunted, but I shan't like to stay the night there, I'll say that much. Village is weirder than the Abbey, if you can believe it. Had one of them dancing diseases once upon a time.
Dancing disease.
To know what else you'd call it.
I wanted to hear more about this, but it was starting to get dark.
Dancing disease. What the fuck is that term? I feel like I've heard that term before, but
Oh, have you never heard of the dancing plagues?
I haven't.
Google it.
Oh, okay.
Tons of
you're
good
gonna-
stuff.
Dancing mania, also known as dancing plague or choreomania, St. John's dance, tartanism, Tarantism, like a tarantella, got it. Tarantism and Saint Vitus's dance was a social phenomenon that may have had biological causes, which occurred primarily in mainland Europe between the 14th and 17th centuries. It involved groups of people dancing erratically, sometimes thousands at a time. The mania affected adults and children who danced until allegedly they collapsed from exhaustion and injuries and sometimes died. Oh. Affecting thousands, dancing mania was not an isolated event and was well documented in contemporary reports. Nonetheless, poorly understood, and remedies were based on guesswork. Wow. That's...
We thought we were special for having the Harlem Shake. Imagine that shit. We don't compare.
This is what gets... There is no consensus among modern-day scholars as to the cause of dancing mania. Because I would have been like, oh, is it just people getting permission to each other to just dance and be silly for a bit? And then you read on, it's like, oh no, people danced until they died. And you're like, oh, okay, that's something different. Okay.
but also that is like, if you read up on it, you'll find that is one of the theories folks advance. And there's reason that folks might act out in socially sanctioned ways.
Right.
Given the lack of social sanction to act out in other ways. That like, oh, if I can... If the way I can cut loose is a dancing plague, then I guess I've caught the plague.
Right.
But that doesn't stop it from being like, that it's a psychogenic illness and so on, doesn't necessarily stop it from being a thing folks do until it has deleterious consequences for themselves and so on.
Fair enough.
So that's a theory.
Another theory here is that victims suffered from ergot poisoning. I don't know what that is.
It's a fungus that's basically like LSD type psychoactive
Understandable.
Substance.
Okay. Other theory suggests the symptoms were similar to encephalitis, epilepsy, and typhus, but as with ergotism, those conditions cannot account for all symptoms. Huh. So maybe a confluence of a bunch of these things, like maybe a little bit is someone with epilepsy starts reacting strangely, and people take that as the dancing plague is here, and take that as a cue to give themselves permission to dance. That's fucking weird.
Anyway, I'm glad we don't have any sort of fucked up social contagion with drastically negative social consequences in the modern day world, right? That's definitely not a thing that happens anymore constantly.
I mean, yeah, exactly. On a different note, do you see the Goncharov box set is out? I wanted to hear... I wanted
to hear more about this, but it was starting to get dark. I also already read that. My eyes started to close, and then I drifted off again. The sound of the car door slamming woke me up soon after.
Well, here we is.
It took me a second to fully wake up.
Cute.
I staggered out of the car to get to my suitcase before Jim could help. We were in an English village, all right. Small brick houses dotted the narrow road. I could see little farms in the distance. There were Tudor buildings and thatched roofs all around.
Take that inside and I'll introduce you to the missus.
I lugged my suitcase through the small front gate of the house and knocked on the door. I heard loud footsteps. After a moment, a woman answered the door.
All right, so are we going to get an image of this woman? And if we do... there is a chance that something very funny is about to happen.
Yeah? She was fat, middle-aged, and dressed in an old floral print frock.
Oh, not again, James!
All I could do was smile. I didn't know what to say.
Found her at the airport. She had to visit the Abbey and offered her a ride and a place to stay. See some cash, you know.
Mary seemed to relax.
Oh, well, if that's all. I was worried you were another one of his collaborators.
Shush, woman.
I was worried I was about to be stuck in the middle of a tense couples argument, but Jim and his wife were both smiling broadly as they ushered me inside. Jim kissed her and shut the door behind us. Collaborators, huh?
Collaborators?
Halt. Collaborate. Listen. I just like lending a hand. You know how it is.
Your big heart is going to land us on the news one of these days. We'll have to go elsewhere for tea, I'm afraid. I ate with the seagulls earlier. Seagulls. Not seagulls, seagulls.
She ate with the seagulls.
Shit.
No trouble. I'll fix myself something. I imagine our friend here will probably want to head to the pub.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just leave your things by the sofa there. You sound American. Long flight. Do you fancy a shower?
Actually, yeah, if that's okay.
Upstairs under the hall.
I opened my suitcase and retrieved a fresher t-shirt, then headed up the narrow stairs. It was crazy to me how much smaller English houses were. Jim and Mary seemed to have made the best of it, though. It was a fine place, just cramped. Cozy, I guess you'd call it. There were photos all along the hallway walls. A younger and thinner Mary. A few cute pictures of her and Jim as a couple in what looked like the 60s.
Hey now.
A wedding photo, a photo of Mary holding a baby. There were a few gaps in between those and the more recent photos. And then right by the bathroom. Fucking cool.
What are we looking at here? Is that a...
Looks like someone in a military uniform.
That looks like a military uniform. Is that like a tank?
No.
The problem is my brain is not working, and it's currently reading the vehicle behind this person
As a Cybertruck?
as a Cybertruck.
Here were pictures of Jim in uniform. I felt kind of stupid. I should have immediately realized from his age that this guy would have fought in World War II. I had to admit it, he looked pretty good in uniform back then. He was still stocky then, but his uniform couldn't hide the muscles he used to have. There was one picture in particular that stood out. Jim standing in front of a destroyed German car, grinning wide. The car was charred and smoking.
Oh, that is a car and not a... Okay, military vehicle. Got it.
Like a grenade toss.
Jesus!
It's all about that. Just wanted to give you a fresh towel before you got in the shower.
He handed me the towel, then pointed at the photograph.
4 officers in that car. We ain't even supposed to be there. Would have been in a heap of trouble if that had been such a good throw.
Did you kill a lot of people?
Loads, probably. Nazis, of course. I was in explosives, artillery, and the like, so I couldn't give you an head count. Proudest of that lot, though. Got lost on patrol thanks to some spotted directions from HQ. Saw a fancy car flanked by a couple of trucks and thought, well, ain't the Fuhrer himself, it probably gonna be someone important. Lobbed a grenade over the hill and then,
He imitated the sound of an explosion.
ain't never saw it coming. And by the time the blokes escorting them noticed, we were on them with the rifles.
I wasn't much of a war nerd, but this story was cool. It's awesome.
And now half the cars in the village are German. Anyway, get clean and head down to the pub if you like. Taking some local color. They'll get a kick out of you, I'm sure.
He shuffled off, leaving me to wonder exactly what he meant by that. Their shower wasn't exactly accessible, but I made do.
Is this our first look at Alex?
Yeah, seems like it.
There you are. There is Alex.
I had to lean my leg up against the toilet. Sorry, Lou, while I hopped into the small tub and leaned against the wall. Once I had freshened up a bit, I put my leg back on and headed downstairs. Mary was sitting at the small kitchen table drinking some tea. Jim was resting on the sofa, looking very relaxed and taking in the evening news. He glanced up as I came down the stairs.
You, freshened up.
Yeah, thanks.
No bra?
Let her be, Mary. It's the punk look.
I couldn't help but laugh. I pack light.
Well, have fun then.
Where is the pub?
Pub sounds so strange in your accent.
Take a ride out the door and walk down to the main street. Called the Bear and Arms. Can't miss it.
Cool, thanks. I stepped out into the cool evening air and walked down the hill toward what looked like a main street.
Just trying to see if that looked like a background we might have found familiar, but doesn't seem like it.
It felt weird walking on cobblestones. There are a few streets and alleys like that in New York, but I'd never seen this much. It was kind of hard not to feel like I was on a different planet or some kind of time traveler. Every now and then I'd catch the hook from a more recent pop song drifting out of a house or a passing car's radio, but I swear, otherwise I could have been convinced I'd stepped into 1950. I found the pub Jim had suggested and dipped inside.
Sorry I keep pausing to bring up the backgrounds like this, but I want to give them a good look.
I wonder where this is. Like, this is definitely a place.
Yeah, this is definitely a place. I know some people have found some of the photography that the Misericorde backgrounds are based on. I don't know if they're all original photography or all stock images or free use stuff or what. But I know you can find some like full color variants of some of the backgrounds we've been seeing, and it's strange. Wait, hold on. I love the color grade background for the modern day narration.
There were a few pubs on the street that had looked a bit livelier than this one.
Yeah, it's just pubbing. Cool.
There was barely anyone in here. Hell, maybe that's why he'd suggested it. I was still pretty wiped from travel. The lights were dim, the small television hanging from the corner of the bar was the brightest thing there. It was playing a program, starring some guy running around with a vegetable pinned to his suit. Very weird.
Do you have any idea what that would be? This is like just enough before my time that I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
This is ringing a bell.
Because we were born in the very early 90s, right? So anything from the 80s or so is like, it's a coin flip if I was exposed to it or not.
Is it, I'm thinking of like Doctor Who had celery, right? One of the Doctor Who's.
Is that it?
Let me Google that. I feel like that's a thing that I remembered because of trauma reasons. Yeah. Look at this guy. Fifth Doctor. You got celery.
Oh, that is Dr. Hoomst.
Couple more veggies on there. He could have a whole walking salad.
There you go.
Why not? Whoops.
And that was the Doctor around the early 80s?
Probably.
I'm sorry, I thought I didn't mean to do this to you.
Yeah, 82 through 84.
There you go.
So that places our years. Wow, it's almost
It said
assuredly 1983.
At the beginning.
I only just put it together that it's 1983, and then it's like, yeah, it's 1983. It said that at the beginning. I just forgot to pay attention. I do not know anything about the Fifth Doctor. I saw, like, a couple of the earlier episodes of random earlier Doctors, and then most of the more recent ones, like 9th onward.
I haven't seen any Doctor Who, and I'm fine to keep it that way.
That's acceptable. I still love you. I like Dr. Whomstead.
You're allowed to. I'm not saying you can't or shouldn't. I'm not even claiming any one way or another if I think it's good. I don't know anything. I haven't seen it. I can't give an opinion. Not everything that people like has to be a thing that I like. And that's fine.
The bartender nodded idly at me as I walked in. I chose a table in the dark in the corner, away from the handful of patrons seated at the bar, and sat down. I took a closer look at the folks sitting at the bar. An old guy who looked just like Jim, an older guy who looked like Jim in 10 or 20 years, and...
Fancy seeing you here.
Lamau.
Oh, darling.
I love Weird Lady.
She's my favorite.
She's definitely... Either she isn't real, or she is writing this, or she is some sort of supernatural entity. I feel like it's got to be one of those.
Or the game just gave us a good potential option. Time Lord.
Time Lord. Yes. Weird Lady is a Time Lord. I understand completely now.
You're welcome.
Everything's coming together.
Read your line.
This was starting to get freaky. Before I could say anything, she stood up and walked over to join me. She had changed into new clothes, super out of place. She was wearing heels and this tight, high-waisted skirt and a billowy silk top. She looked like when bad guys in movies have evil secretaries. When she sat down, I noticed that she was wearing big square glasses underneath her bangs. No idea if those were new or if I'd just never noticed them. How did she see with her hair down like that all the time anyway?
As someone who tried for a while to have a hairstyle that was in front of your eyes, it's not easy, and it's generally not worth it. It's you have to be willing to commit, and you can do it. It's just, it's more of a bother than it's probably worth.
Fucking weird. She had been reading a novel before she noticed me, which she set down on the table with a thump.
Okay, hold on. What novel was she reading?
What did people read in the 80s?
I think she was probably reading a translated copy of some Japanese local sociological work.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, it had something about cicadas or whatever.
Assuredly.
Couldn't tell you.
Well, how was the journey? No traffic, I hope.
It was fine. How did you get here?
Same way you did, silly, the motorway.
Yeah, but like before me? I thought you had a meeting in London.
I did. I don't know, I drive fast. Was Jim nice? Behaved himself?
Yeah? How do you know him again?
Just a friend.
He said he didn't know you at all.
Maybe he forgot little old me. Or maybe he didn't recognize me. He's done a few favors for me.
Sure. For work?
That's right. He's interesting, isn't he?
I guess so. I saw his World War II stuff. Kind of a character.
Not half.
Sorry, you said he's done favors for you? Like what?
Helped me with research, of course.
Oh, for books and stuff.
Uh-huh, definitely those. I can smell inaccuracies a mile away, but it's great knowing someone who was there to help sort through what matters and doesn't. Probably not going to ruin anything if a soldier says some slang from the 50s, but I wouldn't want to see a color TV in a World War II story.
Feels a bit obvious.
You'd be surprised. Did you know people only started saying hello in the 1800s?
Huh. What did they say instead?
Depends on where and when.
ZC looking right at the camera. Listen, I know there's a bit of anachronisms, okay? Just deal with it.
I do find the lamp shading here fun. So now we have to move from like, oh, it's anachronistic speech to being like, oh fuck, is it on purpose anachronistic speech? Now I don't get to just feel smug about it. Now I have to feel paranoid. Full reversal.
Why? I wasn't feeling smug about it.
Yeah, but I mean that you spot the inaccuracy in the thing and you go, actually.
Depends on where and when, naturally. Anyway, things like this start getting quite granular, so part of my job involves doing research or finding people who can do the research. Is this ZC's self-insert?
Interesting.
Self-insert parenthesis praiseworthy, not derogatory.
But the funny thing is, they'll often have conflicting ideas or opinions on which bits need to be accurate. You'd be surprised how much can slide before the audience starts considering something purely fictional. So I make a lot of editing calls. Yes, you can have a teensy supernatural element here. No, you can't have that model watch in 1968, and so on and so forth. And what's funny is that everyone is constantly changing their minds, too. It's all a bit like herding cats.
Finally, a straight-ish answer. Jesus. That actually makes sense. You made it sound all mysterious for a while.
I do my best. Anyway, are you staying with him and Mary?
How do you know all this stuff?
Just guessing. He's the generous type. It's easy to guess these things if you know enough about someone. His son was a bit like you. I figured he'd hit it off with you.
Okay, maybe not so straight an answer. This was getting creepy.
Did you meet his son?
No.
Oh, interesting.
She picked up her book and flicked through the pages. I realized that it had no cover. It was a plain white dog-eared paperback.
That sounds kind of like Hedwig's notebook.
After finding whatever she was looking for, she produced an expensive-looking pen and circled something. Sorry, am I boring you?
Huh? Oh, no. I apologize. I am just checking something. I have to finish my notes on this by morning.
What is it?
A thriller. Bit of an airport paperback, really, but it's quite fun.
What's it about?
She put the novel...
She put the novel down and folded her arms over it, then leaned forward with an excited grin.
So it's this espionage story, yeah? Starts in the 70s, but covers a large span of time. Downing Street Palace intrigue and so on. There's an attempt on the Prime Minister's life. And the spies, the detectives and stuff, they have no idea who it was. They profile the usual types, you know, lefties, minorities, lefty minorities. They get nowhere. Turns out, it was a bunch of retired farmers who were in cahoots with the IRA.
Then what happens?
That's it. That's the twist.
Oh, that sounds fucking boring.
Oh, right. You're not a big fan of fiction, I remember.
I mean, sure, but I go to the movies and watch TV sometimes. I'm not a robot. That just barely sounds like a story. That's just a long article.
Well, it hasn't happened.
Sure, but it could, right? Like, I can imagine flipping on the news and hearing that basically word for word.
Well, I think for some people that is part of the fun.
Not for me, I guess.
Nothing wrong with that.
She drummed her fingers on the table.
Hold on.
That definitely didn't
That
pick up.
definitely didn't pick up, but I tried.
Drinks, what would you like?
A cider, I guess? She stood up and walked over to the bar. I swear she was exaggerating her hip swaying, if that's not too weird to say.
Who are you narrating to, Alex?
I only bring it up because she also left the book on the table. I felt like I was being toyed with. I glanced between the book and the strange woman. I was thinking, how long will her order take? I wouldn't care about a boring spy novel normally, but I don't know, an advanced copy of a book? I'd be curious about an unpublished textbook if I'm being totally honest. You know? Like if a button has a sign that says do not press, I'm pressing that button. So I picked up the book, and
And I guess we'll have to get back to work.
Next time.
Next time. Oh my God, what do we make of this?
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.